Hello, lovely people. It's Nicola back in the Stitches and Slapdashery sewing room. My new blanket makes a perfect cover for this armchair. It's so squishy and comfortable. And if I get really chilly, I can wrap it around myself as well. It's big enough to do that. I just love it so much. This week has been a lot less productive, I have to confess. It's been busy with work. So, yeah, 4 long shifts Monday through Thursday, which meant I was pretty knackered by the end of the day. I did get some knitting done, though. I'll show you that in a sec. Let's see, highlights of this week. Work, work, and more work. Well, a low light, really. My mum's really sick. She's in hospital. She lives in a care home, and she usually just spends her day happy and relaxed in her chair with her books and her puzzle books and TV and everything. And she gets brought her meals, and she's very comfortable there. But unfortunately, she got flu, and she ended up in the hospital, and that was beginning of the week. And unfortunately, she's got quite the nasty chest infection now, and also it looks like her kidneys are struggling because she's not peeing properly. And they're trying to sort that out. So yeah, it's not looking too good right now. When you're 91 and you get flu and then follow-up infection, it can be pretty dodgy. So keeping my fingers crossed for that. Each time my phone pings, I think, oh, it's my sister with more news, and hoping it's good news and not bad news. Youngest son is in Seattle right now. He is going to some concert. I have no idea what. He did leave me a piece of paper to show me where he was staying and where he was going to be going on the weekend. But I haven't read it. I've just stuck it to the fridge. It's just in case of emergencies, so it hopefully won't be needed. But of course, it was a little bit of an anxiety-producing time yesterday as he was driving from here to Seattle, which means going through some mountain passes in the winter. We had a little bit of snow here yesterday, so that means up higher in the mountains it would have been a lot of snow. But he made it okay, and now he's settled in there for just a couple more days. He's only away from yesterday, which was Thursday, to Sunday. But yeah, he's done road trips on his own before. He is 26 now, but even though he's done road trips before, this is the first time he's taken himself across the US border. And yes, it's Trump country, isn't it? But anyway, I think that Oregon and Washington, the Pacific Northwest, is a fairly safe place to be. You don't tend to hear too many horror stories come out of there. So again, keeping my fingers crossed for him and hoping he has a good time and comes back safe. So let's see. Work has been, mostly being on the till. And even though I went in a bit later than usual yesterday, I started at 11 instead of 9, which was nice because it meant I got to stay in bed a bit longer. But I still ended up on the till because I took over for the girl who was on there earlier in the morning, so she could go for a break, and then she basically didn't come back. She went off to do other stuff, and I was like, okay, I guess I'm stuck here again. But that's all right. I get to talk to some nice people. 99.99% of the time, the interactions with customers are good. I did succumb to a little tiny purchase yesterday. I was tidying around. What I try and do is, if there's no customers coming through the self-checkout or the till at any moment, I will try and not just stand around. So what I will do is tidy around. I'll go around and within sight of the tills, I will try and tidy things and make sure things haven't been dumped in the wrong place. And I saw this really cute little gnome box. It's just a little gift box. There's nothing in it, but it has a little bow on the top and a little label. And at first, I thought it looked quite springy, and I thought, oh, look, it's a gnome box, but it looks springy, so it's in the clearance Christmas stuff. Why is it there? And then I realised it actually was a clearance Christmas thing, and it cost me about $2. So I was like, okay, I'm having that. It's just too cute to pass up. The only crafting I've managed to get done this week is some knitting. A little while back, maybe only a week, 10 days ago, I was still finishing up the Granny Stitch sweater and this blanket. And Mr. Stitches said that he wouldn't mind having a hat that has a brim or peak on the front. Mr. Stitches really hates getting his glasses wet when he's out walking in the rain or the snow. And I thought, of course, being a crafter, that if he wanted something to protect his glasses and keep his head warm at the same time, I should make him something. So I have been knitting a hat. It's called the Reasonably Hip Hat by Elizabeth Cobbe. And I found the hat on Ravelry, the pattern through Ravelry, I should say. It's free, and it's on her blog. I think it's called A Mighty Good Yarn, but I'll link it as usual, and I'll put something on the screen right here so that you can see what the source is. And it's knitted in worsted weight yarn, and the majority of the body of the hat is seed stitch, but you start by knitting some garter stitch short rows. And then you go on to the seed stitch to do the body. Now, the decreasing for the crown was kind of not fun, because with seed stitch, as soon as you start doing knit two togethers for the crown shaping, you start to mess up your knit one, purl one, don't you? So I was watching how it was panning out, and there was one spot at one point where I thought, there's a little column, a teeny tiny column of knit stitches appearing there, and that doesn't look right. She doesn't expressly say so in the pattern, but I found that as long as I knitted my purls and purled my knits as I came to them, even if that meant 2 or 3 of the same stitch in the same area, like over the decreases, it looked fine. And I knitted it to the same stitch count and length as she said to make it. I wanted to make sure it was long enough to pull down over his ears, but he doesn't have a very big head. And it's very stretchy. So even that's only 63 stitches. I think that was a 4.5mm size 7 knitting needle. It stretches around his head fine, and I put a lifeline in just before I started decreasing, just in case it ended up being far too short, but actually I think it's going to be okay. So this is the Lion brand Heartland, again, in the colour Rocky Mountains, the green. And I still have to add the brim. So this short row section, which makes the back longer, it sits at the back of the neck. And then this part here where I've got my marker in is the front center of the hat. So you knit a separate visor, which is, I think, ribbing on the top and stockinette on the bottom. You've got every kind of stitch in here. You've got garter, seed stitch, ribbing, and stockinette, all in one hat. So you knit the visor separately, and then you use a piece of plastic canvas or something to put inside so that it's self-supporting, and then you sew it on, which I'm kind of not looking forward to in case it looks horrible, but sure, it'll be fine. Tell yourself that, Nicola, it'll be fine. Yeah, I did look around in my craft room, and I can't believe I don't have a scrap of plastic canvas sitting around. It's not something I use as a rule, but I know I bought some once a long time ago to put in a sewn bag. I just needed a sturdy base to support it. But I must have used up what I had. So it looks like a visit to the dollar store is required. I don't think I'm going to buy that at Michael's because the dollar store will have it for far cheaper. I've been trying to focus on that as much as possible so that he gets his hat before it gets warmer again. Right now we're going through quite a chilly spot, although it's not super cold considering we're in Canada. It's I think one morning we woke up to -9, but that was an outlier. It's mainly between +1 and -5 or something, max and min, and it's really nothing. Right now I've got the sewing machine set up. I am planning out this next tutorial that I want to make. So I'm going back and I'm remaking something that I invented, I think it was last year, called the Zip Pod. It's a tutorial, which I'll link underneath, for a small pouch. It's just a little round pouch with a zipper across the top. And I thought I would make a few of those with the picky fabric that I used in the bag tutorial last week. And then I can demo my afterthought pocket idea. So that's what I'm working on today. These were the bags I made in my tutorial. And that's such a cute fabric that I thought I would use the scraps left over from those to make some of the little round pouches. I grabbed a whole ton of zippers out of my stash. This is pretty much the last of my nylon zippers. I do have some metal ones as well, but I don't like the thought of having to trim them and then sew over them, so I just pulled those out. But because this pouch is so tiny, this is pretty much the size they're all going to get trimmed to. It's, I think, 3.75 inches maybe. Very small. So I've had to relearn how to make this. Obviously, I'm not going to go through all that today because there's a tutorial for it that I did before. But I had to dig out my little templates. Couldn't remember how many of these I was supposed to cut. Did find some notes on construction process, but still had to go back and watch my own video, or at least parts of it, to figure out what I was doing. So I've cut my exteriors and then cut the top one in half so I could put the zipper inside, and I'm using this lavender as the lining. And I've cut my little circles of batting out. I've got some little scraps of batting. This is a great way to use up your oddments, I have to say. This chalk pencil's come in very useful already. So that's awesome. And I think I might use my new basting pen as well. Let's bust out the basting pen, because rather than spray 505 spray all over the place, I can use this. Oh, I got dropsy today. Drop-itis. So, there we go. Look at that. Oh, and it's so pretty. A friend who gave me this, she's American, but she is part Japanese, part Filipino. So obviously she loves Japanese products and how prettily they're always packaged. And this one's lovely. Got little butterflies all over it. So there's the glue. So I'm going to try using that just to hold my little circle of batting onto my fabric. Oh, and I just thought I should have cut one of my circles of batting in half as well. Well, I got the first one finished. They're very cute. I wish they would come out a bit more round, though. It's more of like a ladybug shape, isn't it? Looks like a beetle shape. But yeah, they're fun. With the lavender coloured lining on that one. So that one's got a little piece of the discarded zipper tape holding on the swivel hook. So that's the first one done. Second one I'm working on is going to have a button tab, or a buttonhole tab really. So I'm having to make that up because I haven't done it before. So I have my buttonhole foot set up in here with a rather nice little green ceramic button. I didn't find the piece of fabric with the samples I had made, but I did find this card, which is the little cheat sheet that you get with the machine. It actually fits into this little doohickey right on the top of my machine here, but it gets in the way if you leave it there all the time. So the buttonholes, mode 2. Mode 2. I can choose between a squared off end or a rounded off end. I don't really want it different at each end, so I'm going to go for a rounded at each end. So that's 23. Now we're going to see if I can remember how to do it without looking at the manual. I'm going to use this little scrap first to see if I've got everything right. Just keep my other feet out of the way. I'll be using the regular foot as well as the zipper foot today. And I'll make a mark on the fabric where I hope the buttonhole is going to end up. I think when you make the mark, that's the front. Ha! We'll soon find out. I'm going to line it up right over my chalk mark there. And then I'm going to hit the gas, see what happens. Oh! Okay, that was the thread cutter I pulled down instead of the buttonhole thing. That took me by surprise. It's the black arm at the back there. That's the one. This white thing here is the thread cutter, the needle threader, which doesn't work very well, so I never use it. Okay, I've pulled the little black arm down there, and that's a little stopper for the buttonhole foot, I think. Okay, let's go again. Ooh. Oh, it's another thread. Apart from the fact that I sewed over my trailing thread, that one I think was better. So I'm going to dive in and put it on here now. It worked. I have a buttonhole. And I have a cute green ceramic button to go with it. Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. We did have a little bit of snow in the week. All gone now, though. It's 2 days later. I started recording the first part of this vlog and the sewing of the little zip pod thingies on Friday. And then I made dinner on Friday. And I stuck my earbuds in. I got stuck into an audiobook. And I can't even remember what it's called now. It was just a fiction thing, novel, which was a little predictable. You know, it's one of those things where, you know, boy meets girl. Or girl meets boy. And it went on a little long, actually. I put my earbuds in about 6:15 after dinner, and I thought, oh, this book's nearly at the end. I'll just sit on the couch. I was feeling really sleepy. So I sat on the couch and I thought, oh, I'll probably be finished this book in the next hour. I was still listening to that book 4 hours later. In fact, I finished it while I was actually in bed. I had got ready for bed, and I think I was in bed at about 10:10. And I thought, okay, I've got to be nearly there now. Because each time I thought, okay, it's finished. I know what's happened. It was a predictable ending, but then it would be another chapter and another chapter. And I thought, wow, they're really dragging this out. So I'm not even going to bother recommending it because it wasn't that good. Anyhow, Friday evening went by in a blur. I didn't get back down here to do any more sewing. And then on Saturday morning, we got up and I needed to make some bread. So I had made the chickpea cashew coconut milk cheesecake on Friday, which actually turned out really, really good. And I will have to remember to link to that recipe or the video tutorial so that you can give it a go if you want a cheesecake that's way lower in saturated fat than your regular cheesecake, if you know what I mean. And I made the dough for 3 loaves of bread. I didn't have time to do any more than that, so I left it on the countertop with a damp tea towel over the top of it. Tea towel, that sounded funny. Tea towel over the top of it. It was a little yeasty. It doesn't really benefit from being on the countertop all night. It really should only be left, say, an hour. But I shaped the loaves, rose them again, baked them, took 2 of them with me when we went out of town to our friend's place. So I had the chickpea cheesecake and a berry sauce and some fresh bread. And because I had cooked quite a lot of chickpeas for the cheesecake, I made a nice batch of hummus as well. Took that. And we had a really nice weekend. We had our main meal at lunchtime yesterday. And then the 2 men went off for a walk while the 3 women went to the shops. Of course, we went to a fabric shop. And a couple of woo-woo eclectic shops with all sorts of funky stuff in. And I did try a shoe shop hoping that they would have some barefoot shoes, but he didn't know what the heck I was talking about. Definitely not the place that I should have gone in to look for those. So yeah, we had a light supper. Well, we were so full from lunch. We were sitting around chatting, and it was getting late in the afternoon. It got to about 5:30, and we're all still feeling really stuffed from lunch from 4 hours before. But we ended up having just soup and salad and some fresh bread, and that was really good. And then we played Ramoli. We've never played Ramoli before. Well, they have. Our friends have played it because they had to teach us how to do it. And we normally play Mexican train dominoes. This time we played Ramoli. And at first I wasn't sure about it. Whenever you're trying to learn a new game, you're just getting so confused. But we played about 30 rounds of it. We had a whole bunch of pennies. And so if someone ran out of pennies, they just got another handful out of the bank, aka the glass jar. And we just kept on playing until we all felt like we knew what we were doing. And I actually did really well a lot of the time. I frequently do really badly at board games and things. But yeah, at least for the first half of play, I felt like I was winning quite a lot, which was nice. And anyway, it's not really all about the game. It's not about winning. It's about spending time with our friends and having a really good laugh. And we always do that. So that's good. We stayed over, got up this morning. As usual, we had all this beautiful fruit cut up and prepared for us. And we had some muesli with some homemade soy yogurt that our hosts make and keep in the fridge. And rather than hang about, we got on the road fairly soon after that. Beautiful day. I mean, it's cold, but it's sunny. And so on the way back, we decided to stop and have a walk. So we walked for about an hour, got all our steps in for the day, and then got home and ate leftover hummus, bread, and cheesecake for lunch. I'm currently feeling like I don't need to eat again for the rest of the day. I took some knitting with me, of course, because you don't go on a road trip without taking something to do with your hands if you're a passenger, right? And I can't show you the thing I made yesterday because I gave it away. But I can show you a photo, which I will insert here. And I started on a second one. So to give you an idea of what I'm making, this is the one I made a few years ago. It's a very cozy cowl made in a faux fur yarn, and you just cast on 42 stitches and you knit until the yarn is almost out. You just leave enough to bind off. I think I must have bound this off quite tightly because I can feel the tightness. I always wear this part at the top and put this part at the bottom when I'm wearing it. And there isn't really a wrong or right side, because even though it's all knit and it's actually stuck in it, it doesn't curl, and it also looks good on both sides. But I think the pearl side probably looks fluffier, but there's not a lot of difference really. So this is my old one. So as I say, I made a navy blue one yesterday, and then on the drive home I started another one. So this is the colour of the navy blue. I had a little bit left. In fact, this piece is only left because I saw a knot about 2 feet from the end of the beginning of the ball. And so I just cut it off because I didn't want a knot in my work if I could avoid it. And this is the other one that's on the go. This was just cast on this morning on the way here. And I'm halfway done with it already. Maybe even more than halfway. Let's have a look. Yep, I'd say that's more than half finished. This yarn is just so soft. I'm not always a fan of faux fur yarn, but this stuff was sold at Fabricland a few years back, and it was super popular, and unfortunately they decided to discontinue it, which was really dumb in my opinion. But then I was just a mere employee, so what could I do? So this light coloured one is called Vanilla Buttercream, and the yarn's called Spindle Yarns Buttersoft. So $6.99 on clearance, and one weekend of knitting. 2 skeins of yarn are going to be out of the stash, so that's another nice bit of stash burning. Now I don't want to give away too much of what I'm doing for this afterthought pocket idea, because obviously I want people to watch the tutorial. But I just finished the second pouch, and instead of a zipper tab or a swivel hook on the end of the zipper, I put this buttonhole tab on the side. So that one's finished. That's a couple of the ideas dealt with. In order to mix it up a little bit, I don't want to just do 7 of those little round pouches. I'm going to make a flat one with a flap and a snap closure. I have this template that I cut out last year, and I can't remember what YouTube channel I got this idea from. It's really, really basic. You just cut a 5x10 rectangle and you curve the ends, and you put you can make a tab on the side if you want, and then you put your outer and your inner back to back, sew most of the way around, turn it right side out, press it, and then just fold the bottom up and the flap down. It's super easy. So I am going to just put together this little thing so that I can demo another method for adding afterthought pockets. So what I've decided to do with this little pouch is to use this template. I cut out a piggy piece and a denim piece, put them right sides together, sewed almost all the way around, left a turning gap, and turned the right side out and pressed them. But before I did that, I sewed a little square or rectangle of Aida cloth on there so that when the pouch is finished, it's going to have a little place to park your needles. I know there's going to be a snap here, and I deliberately put it high enough that the snap will go through the Aida, which will reinforce the junction a little bit, but the needles can go in just below here. So when it folds over like that, it can keep your cross-stitch needles safe. Hoping this is going to work out. So what I'm going to do next is I need to attach a piece of Velcro. And I think what I need to do with the Velcro is save the fuzzy side for inside the bag, so that if you decide not to have the pouch in there, it's not going to catch on things like thread or yarn. And I'll put the scratchy side onto this little pouch. I'm just figuring out now where I need to position this on the back here. And I'm going to machine sew that onto there. But what I'll have to do with the zipper pouch is I'll have to hand sew it on the other side, because otherwise it will show through to the outside. Plus also it'll be very fiddly to machine sew, considering the bag's already made. This is the only colour of Velcro I had, or should I say hook and loop, because it's not necessarily a Velcro brand. But hey, hardly anyone's going to see it. It is just for demo purposes. So I've still got an open little hole here. I'm just trying to decide whether I want to top stitch all the way around and then fold and sew, because I do want at least this top part top stitched. I think I'll just go all the way around. Just trying to decide now whether to top stitch this with the light grey thread I've been using so far, or to change it for a darker blue thread, so that when I top stitch and then fold this up and sew, it won't be so visible on the denim. I think that's what I should do. That's that one done. It's just a little snap on there, opens up, got the Velcro on the back, and it's got this little piece of Aida here, and then the snap went through there so that it's extra strong. As you can see, I did not center it very well. But then this is stitches and slapdashery, folks. So that's 3 out of the 7 done so far. So I think I'm going to take a little bit of a break from the sewing now. I'm going to get what footage I've got from Friday and Saturday and Sunday all put together in some sort of coherent upload and get it up on the internet so that you guys can see what I've been up to. This cap of Mr. Stitches, I'll be able to finish it now because I have some plastic canvas. So I need to knit the visor for this. I didn't do that on the road trip because it would have required a little bit more concentration than I was wanting to give it, which is why I decided to knit those cowls instead. So visor on this, finish the white fluffy cowl. That's 2 outstanding things. Finish this sewing project that I'm in the middle of, pretty much dead in the middle of. Yeah, I will say goodbye to you for now, and hopefully it won't be too long before we see each other again. I do have Wednesday off this week, so I should be able to make more progress on the sewing that day, hopefully in the afternoon or the evening. And hopefully plan also another use up the yarn stash project. Now that I've got it all organized and I know what I've got, I think I can figure out something else to make. It would be nice to use up those granny squares, wouldn't it? Put them together in some way. I think that might be the next thing. I think that might be the next thing. So yeah, 2 whips. Once those are done, I'll move on to something else yarny. We can talk about that next time. So thanks so much for being here as usual. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, you know what to do. Hit the thumbs up and all that good stuff. And I'll see you soon. Bye for now.